Hi, thanks for tuning into my author study on Kimberly Willis Holt. About 2 months ago, I became familiar with this author, Kimberly Willis Holt, who was new to both me and to my students, yet a very well-known writer in the elementary literature world. Kimberly visited our school for the annual Writers Festival. She was one of a few authors who we had the opportunity of hearing present. She is not only a dynamic and captivating speaker, she is also a writer who truly engages her audience of readers. My interest, as well as my second grade students' interest, was piqued in getting to learn more about Kimberly Willis Holt as a writer and a person, and also familiarizing ourselves and enjoying going on the adventures in the text which she has written. When asked how she gets ideas for her stories, which is a common question for many young writers, where am I going to get my ideas from? Kimberly Willis Holt used the analogy of a well, and that when writing and brainstorming on topics for her stories, she pulls up the bucket from her well of ideas, and that well is her imagination, and that many of her ideas for her books are inspired by small moments, things that she has experienced and is familiar with and also cares about. She says, quote, "These small moments wait patiently until the time comes when they knock on my door and ask to tell their story," end quote. I've reinforced with my second graders the importance of writing about things that you know and you care about. We created heart maps at the beginning of the year that are still on our writing folders and illustrated things that we know and care about. And many times those are ideas that are showing up in the stories which we write. I enjoyed hearing Kimberly Willis Holt share about how she gets her ideas because it reinforced that the philosophy is all too true, that writers will write about things that they know and they care about. She has a very bold quote on her website that is by Albert Einstein, and it says, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, imagination encircles the world." I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about Kimberly Willis Holt as a person, and I'd like to share some of her text later on. Kimberly Willis Holt was born in Pensacola, Florida, and she lived in a military neighborhood, and she experienced many changes as a young child, being the daughter of a father who was in the military. She notes her oldest memory as being a 2-year-old and visiting a local ice cream store and buying an orange dreamsicle, and she says that to this day, those are still her favorite. As a young 5-year-old, Kimberly, along with her family, moved to Paris, France. That is where she began her education career as a kindergartner. She learned to speak and read French. And she has very fond memories of a bakery that was near her neighborhood in France, and you will see that author's connection show up in one of the picture books that I will share with you later. Her time in Paris was short-lived, though. She was soon relocated with her family and stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. Kimberly attended first grade in Norfolk, and she continued to move around the world, and despite the many different locations in which she spent her childhood and her time growing up, she counts Louisiana as her emotional home. Several generations, I think it's 7 in fact, have lived there in Louisiana, and her favorite dish is one of her grandmother's dish, and it is chicken and dumplings, and she actually includes this in her first novel, My Louisiana Sky. Kimberly also lived in New Orleans and the island of Guam. Those are places that show up in some of the books which she has written. Kimberly has sisters. She has 2, one older and one younger, and she has since married and given birth to a daughter of her own who's now in college. Kimberly Willis Holt has Southern charm. She currently lives in Texas, and she includes many things in her writing to which I and my students can relate to as Southerners. She began to write about 12 years ago. She mentions that writing was her childhood dream, although she pursued some of the following interesting careers. She, for a while, was a radio news director, a marketer of a water park, a seller of display ads, and she also says that she tried being a, quote, terrible interior decorator, end quote. She's written 7 novels for upper elementary students. She's written a Piper Reed series, which I will share later, of 6 books for younger elementary students. She has also authored 3 picture books. She is quite an accomplished author. She has a combined total of over 100 awards and honors. On her website, which I would encourage you to visit, Holt encourages people to work hard and dream hard. She says that some of her books have needed 12 rewrites, while some have needed over 100. I shared this with my students and encouraged them to have the same work ethic and persevering through their stories, and that publishing is not a process that happens overnight. She's no doubt a hard worker who does persevere. A couple of her novels have even been turned into movies. For this author study, I have focused on Holt's literary works, which I can integrate into my 2nd grade classroom. Again, she has written many novels which are geared towards upper elementary, middle school, and even high school students. I've purchased the Piper Reed chapter book series and all of Holt's 3 chapter books which she has written to share with you. As mentioned earlier, Kimberly Willis Holt draws on many of her own life experiences when she's writing, and the Piper Reed series is a set of 6, and it can be read in any order. She did choose Christine Davenier as the illustrator who illustrates each of the 6 Piper Reed books. The first novel is Piper Reed Navy Brat. This novel introduces Piper Reed, who is the daughter of a military father and also a middle child. Sound familiar? Piper is a witty 9-year-old that has moved many times. She has even lived in Texas and in Guam. Again, is this sounding a little bit familiar to Kimberly Willis Holt? She certainly has used author's connection in this story. Piper has moved many, many times, and this book is it's humorous, it's engaging, and it's a wonderful read aloud that details the adventures of Piper Reed's family, Piper Reed's active imagination, and sisterhood. Each of the Piper Reed books could be independently read by most 1st graders and certainly by 2nd graders. I also think that students who are in 3rd, 4th, even 5th grade would enjoy this text. Her first in the series, Navy Brat, was copyrighted in 2007. It has won the following awards and honors: the 2010-2011 Sunshine State Young Reader Award nominee, a Book Sense Autumn 2007 Children's Pick List, a Family Circle Book of the Month selection, New Mexico's 2008-2009 Land of Enchantment Children's Book Award nominee, 2007 Cleveland Public Library Celebration, a Texas Bluebonnet Award Master List selection, South Dakota's 2009-2010 Prairie Children's Master List, Oregon's Battle of the Books 2009-2010, Oregon's 2010 Beverly Cleary Children's Choice Award nominee. In my 2nd video, I will share some extension activities for which classroom teachers can use this novel for. Thank you.